With the winds of war blowing in the Pacific, President Roosevelt uses his constitutional authority on July 26, 1941, and orders into service of the United States all of the organized military forces of the Philippines. Less than 24 hours after the attack on Pearl Harbor, the Japanese invade the Philippines.
An order came through the radio to the effect that all Army people, whether they are in the active or reserve service, have to report for duty. Every Filipino who went to the war was made to understand that we were fighting not only for our country, but also for the American people.
Combined Filipino-American forces put up a gallant, delaying defense on the Bataan Peninsula. Finally, out of ammunition and food, the defenders surrendered to the Japanese. 66,000 Filipinos and 12,000 Americans are forced to march 70 miles to their prison camp in what would become known as the Death March.
Many times I feel faint because probably of hunger, because of heat. And so a friend of mine, or the one beside me, sometimes I didn't know who he was, and he would help me walk. In my prayers, I always pray that I be strong enough so that I can reach the destination.
The casualties during this one-week march without food or water are staggering. Nearly 700 Americans and close to 10,000 Filipinos perish. After Bataan falls, remaining Phil-Am forces numbering 13,000 gather on the island fortress of Corregidor to wage a final battle. Overwhelming Japanese forces put an end to this heroic but doomed defense. 1,800 are killed or wounded, and the remaining 11,000 are paraded through the streets of Manila before being parceled out to various POW camps in the Philippines. The sum total of Filipino and American POWs is over 72,000, including troops in the Bataan Death March and those later captured at Corregidor and other areas in the Philippine archipelago. Among the Allied nations, the Philippines is second only to Poland in terms of total war destruction. In the Allied fight against fascism, nearly 60,000 Filipinos were killed in action, thousands more were wounded for life, and hundreds were classified as missing in action. The civilian casualties were devastating, with loss of life estimated at nearly 1 million. At this great cost, the country was liberated and democracy restored. At the end of the war, President Truman reluctantly signed the 1946 Rescission Act, stripping Filipino veterans, those who were left out of the U.S. Army list of soldiers and guerrillas, of all the veterans' benefits guaranteed by President Roosevelt in 1941. Of the 66 nationalities that fought on behalf of the United States, only those from the Philippines were denied benefits. Despite the humiliation and injustice suffered through all these years, these veterans remained steadfastly stalwart in their loyalty and dedication to the United States. They maintained their belief that someday they will be recognized for accomplishing their mission. Filipino soldiers of World War II fought and died for the same reasons American soldiers did: the preservation of democracy and freedom around the world. In many instances, they fought together under the same commander. But it is vital to remember that they were not just fighting for their homeland. They were defending, protecting, and ultimately liberating sovereign territory held by the United States of America. Throughout the entire course of World War II, the Philippines remained a territory of the United States. Although we cannot undo the injustices of the past, the awarding of the Congressional Gold Medal to these deserving veterans will go a long way towards honoring the sentiments voiced by President Truman in 1946 the record of the Philippine soldiers for bravery and loyalty is second to none. Their assignment was as bloody and difficult as any in which our American soldiers engaged. Under desperate circumstances, they acquitted themselves honorably. It is the purpose of the United States to do justice to these veterans.